Welcome back to Sports Desk. Admittedly, it's not often that we speak about snooker on Sky Sports News, but for very good reason right now. The World Championship begins this weekend. You might remember, if you watched it in the past, it's a long tournament, goes through until the first bank holiday weekend in May. And it's always been at the Crucible Theatre in Sheffield since we can remember, but maybe not for much longer. For more on this, we're joined by our chief reporter, maybe even chief snooker reporter now, Kaveh Solhekol. Kaveh, so in terms of where we're at with this, there is a current deal which keeps the snooker, the World Championship at the Crucible until 2027, but that then expires in 3 years' time. And of course, whenever there is a change of venue, then there is a country called Saudi Arabia whose name always comes up. So could it be heading there afterwards?
I think there's a possibility that it could. As you said, the Crucible has the contract to host the World Championship until at least 2027. And the World Championship has been there for 47 years. It's been there since 1977. But I think once the contract expires in 3 years' time, then there is all to play for as far as Saudi Arabia are concerned. Now, they have made no secret of the fact that they are willing and ready to host the World Championship or even to invest in it more. And we've seen just in the past few hours the announcement that the Riyadh season have become a partner of the World Championship. So they will have a commercial presence in Sheffield this year as well. So there is a partnership developing between Saudi Arabia and snooker. The big question is, of course, will it lead to the World Championship moving to Saudi Arabia? I think one of the important factors will be what the players think. Now, we've already had last month the first World Snooker Tour event in Saudi Arabia. That was a big success. Ronnie O'Sullivan won that event, and he was very impressed with what he saw in Saudi Arabia. And we've been speaking to him, and he says that he feels that the sky is the limit as far as snooker in Saudi Arabia is concerned. And I don't think he would have any issues with the World Championship moving from Sheffield to Saudi Arabia.
As a player, and I speak, I think, for most of the players, that facilities, practice facilities, hotels, getting in and out of the venue, you know, just not having to worry about where am I going to eat. You know, when everything's just all laid on for you, you kind of go, all I've got to do is just go and play my match, which is great, you know. Crucible is a little bit tougher, you know. You have to sort of plot your way around the event, you know, when to go and practice, when it's quiet, where do you eat, you've got to find a restaurant, you've got to do... Listen, I'm talking about, you know, but I'm just comparing, you know, I'm not saying, oh, you know, I want everything laid on. I'm just saying if you had the choice, you'd choose somewhere where everything's just laid on for you. Don't get me wrong, I ain't got an issue with the Crucible, but, you know, some of the events that we play in, like Saudi Arabia and China, it's a lot easier as a player just because all you've got to do is play, you know. But listen, Sheffield's great. It's got the history, and that history never changed. But yeah, a lot of people that are like, oh, it's the history. It's like, oh, come on, man. Like, history just is getting rewritten every day, really, you know. So I think, you know, if Eddie and Barry and World Snooker decide that it's right for snooker to take it to Saudi Arabia, why not?
Look, this is nothing new, sports going to Saudi Arabia that haven't previously had really much of an expression there. We've heard about tennis not so long ago in the ATP, but also the WTA moving their season finals to Riyadh. So we know that this is part of a sort of more general sporting movement. Interesting, you know, one word that we didn't hear there in Ronnie O'Sullivan's answer was sports washing. There was nothing spoken about human rights or anything like that. He did mention Eddie, and that's Eddie Hearn, who is the chairman of Matchroom. So if Ronnie's keen on it, how is Eddie feeling about it?
Well, having spoken to him, I think the way he looks at it is, on the one hand, he knows all about the history of the Crucible and how important that is to snooker. But also, on the other hand, he's a businessman. He also has to look after the interests of snooker players. And if there are opportunities in the future to develop the sport and develop the event, then I think he is going to look at them. But what he did tell us is, at the moment, there are no discussions, no plans about moving the World Championship from Sheffield. But he did say that his eyes are open and you don't know what the landscape is going to look like in 3 years' time.
Can I start? Listen, I mean, you know, we know how Eddie Hearn, Barry Hearn have helped modernise sports. We know the impact they've had with darts, for example, and snooker, etc., and I'm sure many more things besides. But if you were being really, really cynical here, would this be almost like a call out to say, well, actually, in 3 years' time, this could be leaving, and almost to leverage? You know, not saying that this has been planted, this Saudi idea. They've already had an event there. So we kind of know about that. But, you know, might this be a way of trying to kind of wake Sheffield up, wake the Crucible up to say, come on then, this is a threat?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. The issue is that the capacity of the Crucible is 980. Just 980 people. And, you know, the event, there is so much demand for tickets, they could sell it out 4 or 5 times over. But I think Eddie Hearn knows that, you know, the heart and soul of the event is at the Crucible. If there is some way they could get a bigger venue, there's been talk potentially of a bigger venue being built in Sheffield, then I think that could be the ideal sort of situation for everybody concerned. But we haven't seen any plans that is going to happen. And it's not just Saudi Arabia who have expressed interest in hosting the World Championship. I think we all know how big snooker is in China now. It could possibly move to China. Also, Qatar has expressed an interest in hosting it as well. So I think it's safe for at least the next 3 years. But then after that, I think it is all to play for. And I think it was significant, actually, in the pictures you saw there from the signing ceremony. The gentleman who was standing at the back with the sunglasses on, he's one of the most powerful men in Saudi sports. He is Turki Al Sheikh, who is the chairman of the board of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority. He is the man who has made Saudi Arabia the home of heavyweight boxing. And I think now he's turned his sights to snooker. And he actually told us that he wants to have an army of people in Saudi Arabia playing snooker. And he says that there is a lot of interest in snooker in Saudi Arabia. And that's why they've signed a 3-year deal with Ronnie O'Sullivan to become an ambassador and to go to Saudi Arabia and coach and develop talent there as well.
All right. An ever-moving situation. Thank you very much indeed, Kaveh.